Bathroom makeovers are a quick and easy way to get a whole new look by just adding a little bit of paint. You don't need to spend time ripping out the floors and redoing everything. You literally just add a little bit of paint and you get a whole new designer look. We're going to take this bathroom, we're going to paint the tile floors, we're going to paint the vanity and paint the walls and give it a whole fresh new makeover. Follow us and join me step by step for how to get this DIY makeover. Painting your bathroom tile floors is a really easy makeover. It's going to completely transform the look and the feel of the space, and it's easy to do with paint, but there's a couple of steps you need to know and be ready for. So prep. We have to clean the tiles and make sure that they are ready for paint, especially in a bathroom when you've got hairsprays and all the other kinds of products that you tend to use in a bathroom. Those have a lot of ingredients in it that paint doesn't like to stick to. So we're really gonna clean the tile really well. We're gonna use our TSP alternative, and this is a great degreaser. It's biodegradable, it's a concentrated formula. So you would use 1 cap full for half a liter of water. And what you're gonna do is pour that in there, and then you're gonna take a rag, any kind of spare rag that you have around, mix it around, and then you're gonna give your floor a really good scrub clean. So let's get started with that. So wring it out, and then just get to town, get in there and make sure there's no grease, especially in the grout. Any sort of products that could have sort of come off of, from makeup or anything like that. You're gonna really want to give it a good clean. Okay. And you can just sort of see how dirty your rag is and just keep cleaning it until it feels squeaky clean. Okay, so once that is done, you're gonna let it dry. When you're happy with how it feels, take a little feel over top of it. If anything still feels a little bit slippery or greasy, you may have something on there that may need a little bit of extra clean. So we recommend our Odorless mineral spirits. This is called Odorless Solvent. And what you would do with it is just put a little bit onto a rag, and then you would wipe in the areas where you think there's any sort of grease or something that just couldn't be removed from our TSP alternative. So this is really great for taking off any kind of waxy coatings, very difficult sticky residue. Really great for your cabinetry as well, especially in a bathroom or a kitchen, because they're notorious for having those types of waxy residue or anything like that, especially from cooking or any kind of oils or hairsprays. My floor is now dry from my TSP alternative clean, and I just want to make sure that I'm going to have no sticky residue or anything on there. I still feel a little bit of slick, so I'm just going to take the Odorless solvent and I'm going to put it around the areas where I feel that there's just a little something sort of left behind there, and the grout as well. And what this does is it just removes any possibility of anything on there that the paint is going to repel off of. So just a little rub with this. This dries in about 2 minutes, and then you're good to go with your painting. My vision for this floor is to do a base coat of a really neutral color and then add this custom stencil that I had made from Margaritaville Studios. And it's just got a really nice sort of contemporary pattern. And this is a really inexpensive way to stencil your own tile floor to make it look like a custom tile. If you were to rip out the floors and redo the tile work, you'd be looking in the hundreds of dollars, if not more, including labor. So the stencil cost me under $50, and then I've got a couple of different paints that I'm gonna use. So I'm gonna do this whole floor makeover for under $100. So I'm gonna start off with a base of cobblestone. This is a really beautiful neutral gray tone to it with a little bit of warmth. So it's not gonna feel too much like a cement floor. It's gonna have a little bit of warm tone to it. I'm gonna put that on using a roller. And then for my stencil, I'm gonna bring in a couple of accent colors. So I'm gonna use blue pine for some of the main design, and then also Victorian lace, and I'm gonna do some blending. So it's a really great way, again, to look like you have a beautiful custom tile floor, just with a little bit of stencil and a little bit of paint. Let's get started. So we've got our cobblestone, and I'm gonna pour it into my tray here. For the floor this big, I'll probably use maybe half a pint. It's amazing. You don't need a lot of paint to get really good coverage, especially with a color like this. It's got really amazing hiding properties in it. So one coat is gonna be really good. We might end up using 2 coats, we'll see. I'm gonna set this aside. Tip, when you're closing your container, if you have a wet wipe to just clean around the rim, that'll make it really easy to open up again, because sometimes the paint can get stuck there and it's harder to reopen your containers because the paint is so strong and so durable and adhesive, which is what we want. You can also put a little piece of plastic cling wrap in between the lid and the container, and it opens up really easily. So we are going to get the brush on the roller, get the paint on the roller, and then just kind of soak it a little bit like that. You don't want too much paint on because there's nothing for the paint to soak into on the tile floor. So a little is gonna go a really long way. Now, if I was not doing this on camera and actually painting this floor by myself, I would be starting over there at that end and working my way out. I don't wanna paint myself into a corner, but just for the video purposes, I'm gonna do it so that you can see it. All right, so you can totally paint the grout, no problem. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start coating all over. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be an amazing transformation. I can already feel how much brighter and lighter and contemporary this space is gonna feel. Wow, and the coverage is so good. Don't expect, solid coverage on your first coat. It's normal that it'll take, several coats with a lighter color, but this type of a color, you're probably looking at about 2 coats for full coverage. And the reason why we say do thinner coats is so that you don't have any sort of stippling marks or brush marks if you're using a brush, because what creates those marks is just excess paint. Too much paint will create some texture. All right. I'm not too worried if I end up hitting the door because I'm actually gonna paint the door as well, so I'm not too worried if I get a little bit of paint here and there. No big deal. Look at that, just from the one dip into the container with paint, I've already got great coverage. Now, continue on with this. You're gonna want to wait about probably 4 to 8 hours before you put a second coat on, because this is not a piece of furniture like wood, because when you have wood, the paint has the ability to cure and dry from the inside of the wood and the top. This only can dry and cure from the top up. So we really need to make sure that it has a lot of time to cure. And the only way it cures is by the water evaporating from the paint, and it can only evaporate in one direction here. So you've got to watch your humidity, you've got to watch your temperature. The best painting temperature is sort of regular room temperature, so around 20 degrees Celsius. If it gets up to about 30 degrees Celsius, which is about 85 to 90 Fahrenheit, it gets to be a little bit too difficult for the paint to dry properly. And if you put, oopsies, if you put too many layers on too quickly, it's gonna take a lot longer for that paint to cure. Just like when you're getting your nails done, if you have too many layers of the nail polish on and you smudge it because it hasn't had enough time to dry, it's the same sort of theory with this. And because we're working on tile, it's gonna take longer to dry and cure. So just keep that in mind. Have a lot of patience when you're doing this type of project, but still you'll be able to make over this room in no time whatsoever. So I'm just gonna continue on here. It's looking beautiful. All right, so I've got my stencil laid down. This stencil is from Margaritaville Studios. I love their quality of stencils because they're nice and thick. So that means when I lay it down, the weight of the stencil is gonna stay down really nicely, so I'm not gonna have the bleed through. But I'm gonna give you some tips and techniques on how to avoid bleed through. Stenciling is really easy. A lot of people are intimidated by it, but I guarantee you it is so easy to get a really high-end look with it. We have our testers of color here. These are really great for smaller craft projects, perfect for stenciling. A little really does go a long way. We're gonna start with blue pine. We're gonna blend in a little bit of eucalyptus and probably a little bit of Victorian lace as well. I wanna have a lot of contrast. I love blending different colors. Again, once I start doing it, you'll see how easy it is. Take any brush that you have, any round brush like this, throw an elastic band on it, and it instantly becomes a stencil brush. I'm just gonna dab out of the lid, because really a little bit is all you need. And what you want to do here, this is the crucial part, it's offloading and making your brush a dry brush. We always stencil with a dry brush to prevent any bleed through from happening. You can dab for stenciling, or you can do a little swirl. The key is, as long as you're using a dry brush, either technique will work well. Find the swirl a little bit faster and easier. I only ended up putting one coat of the cobblestone down on the floor because I've got this stencil that's going to have a lot of coverage. I don't mind having a slight variation and seeing through to the original tile. So this is great. And this should dry to the touch within about 20 minutes. And you're going to take it off and then do the next one and then just keep continuing on. So you can pick some key colors that you want to work with, and then you can sort of blend from there as well. So I'm going to take my eucalyptus as my next color. I'm going to grab a different brush so it's clean. You can also use one of these little sponge brushes. That will totally work as well. So soak it a little bit, dab off the excess, and then you can kind of just paint it on. Again, the key is less is more. A little goes a long way, especially when it comes to stenciling. You want less on your brush. So I've got different colors happening here now. And if I wanted to start to blend, say in these squares here, I would put a little bit of both colors on, and then I would just blend the colors together. So for example, the eucalyptus and the blue pine, two colors together, and then I'll just do a swirling motion to really blend them. There we go. And then you just continue on blending different colors until you're happy with it. I've just finished blending with the stencil brush here and a couple of the colors, and I just had a lot of fun with it. I wasn't too particular with which color was going where, but I did pick a couple of key spots. So all of the squares are just the pure blue pine, and the rest is sort of a mix around of some of the other colors like Victorian lace and the eucalyptus in there. So let's see what it looks like. Ooh, that's pretty. Oh, that's very pretty. Wow, that's great. So you can definitely see some variation in here, and it's really nice because it kind of looks like a handmade tile, something completely natural and gorgeous. And then to continue on, I would just place the stencil here and then keep it moving. So I will do that, but I'm going to let this dry first before I go ahead and continue on with the next one.